Hey guys, Anthony Beckham here. Welcome to the channel where real estate is life. So it sounds like you've passed your real estate exam. Congratulations. Today we're going to be talking all about how to pick your brokerage and what questions you should be asking when doing your brokerage interviews, as well as talking about why I left KW. So let's hop right into it. So to start off, I want to start by saying that I personally now work at a very small local brokerage. And the only reason why I say this is because a lot of guys that are talking about picking a brokerage on YouTube are trying to sway you towards going with the brokerage that they're at, which I believe the biggest ones, of course, are going to be KW and EXP, because they get some sort of profit share or something if you are to join that brokerage. Unfortunately, you can't join the small brokerage that I'm with unless you planned on moving to my small Oregon town, which I don't think that is the case. So everything I'm talking about today does not benefit me in any way. It's just so you're prepared for interviewing those brokerages and know that you're making the best decision for yourself. So the first step, once you get your real estate license, or even a couple weeks before you know you're going to be taking the test, I recommend calling all of the local brokerages in your area to set up interviews. You're gonna wanna go interview with all the big franchise brokerages in your area. You know, typically that's gonna be your Century 21, your Remax, Berkshire Hathaway, KW, EXP, and even some of the smaller family-owned brokerages in your area. You're gonna wanna meet with each of the brokers personally and just get a real good feel for them. You're gonna wanna ask the following questions and keep those in mind during the interview. The biggest thing to remember with your new career in real estate is that this is probably different than any other job that you've ever had. As a real estate agent, you're actually an independent contractor. You're not a W-2 employee. New real estate agents reach out to me all the time, and they'll always say things like, oh, Remax really wants to hire me on, or Berkshire Hathaway was gonna hire me right there on the spot. And while that's great, of course they were gonna do that. It's a brokerage. You know, a lot of these brokerages even have recruiters set up, especially at the big franchises, that are targeting new real estate agents to come bring on to their brokerage. It's important to remember that you're not getting interviewed by the brokerage, but instead you are interviewing the brokerage. So no matter how much you like them on the first visit, if you haven't already visited the other brokerages in your town, don't fall for the, them wanting you to sign on and hire you right then and there, because remember, you're in control. They would like to bring you onto their brokerage so they can increase their numbers and numbers of agents, and of course become a more profitable company once you get out there and start selling all those homes. So we want to make sure that no matter how big of a sales pitch they put on you, and the car sales tricks and putting the paper over to you and asking to sign, because they literally did all those things when I conducted my interviews, and they very well may do the same to you. Remember to stay strong and make sure that you interview all the brokerages and look at all of these details that we're going to look at today before signing on with any of them. There are several key factors that you should be considering when conducting these interviews, and one of the most important is culture. Now, remember, all of these brokerages are independently owned and operated. So a lot of times I'll hear Remax is great in my town. Well, while one person may love Remax in their town, remember, they're independently owned and operated. So one may be managed really well, maybe they have great training, all of the top producers want to work there, and then there's a Remax in the next state over that isn't ran near as well. It has poor management, a hole in the roof, and you wouldn't want to work there. I mean, it really can be a night and day difference. So it's really hard to say one company is better than the other, because they are each independently owned and operated, again, making it that much more important for you to go out and personally meet with them. You'll notice that there's likely an office in town where most of the older brokers work. You may have another brokerage where more of the top producers tend to work, or maybe more of the new agents. And those are all things to take into consideration when conducting these interviews to make sure that you're gonna feel comfortable and that you feel like you're gonna fit in. Next is training and support. And if you're a brand new real estate agent, this is gonna be that much more important for you. So make sure that during this interview that you are asking the broker what kind of training and support they offer. And remember to take it with a grain of salt because of course they are trying to sell you on joining their brokerage. Make sure to ask, do you guys have any weekly training? Do you guys do role playing? Are there any kind of trainings that you require that I attend? These are all good signs of a great brokerage who wants their agents to do well. While at my office that I was at before, I never really felt like I got quite all the training that I needed from the brokerage. And I think that this is something that a lot of people will see with their brokerage. They expect too much out of them in regards to training. I found a lot more success, listening to my favorite podcasts and listening to other top agents in other areas talk. Of course, you've got YouTube. I even paid for some different coaching programs and I read a ton of books. You can only rely on the brokerage so much for training. If you want to be a top producer, you're going to have to take that training into your own hands. And that's why it's so important that you hit that subscribe button and subscribe to the Real Estate is Life channel. Next is tools and perks. During the interview, make sure to ask the broker what tools, technology, and perks that they offer in the brokerage. Do they offer you a CRM? Do they offer you a website? What other software do they offer you? Do you get a desk or do you get an office space? If you do, is that included in your splits or is there an extra monthly cost for those? Most of these things are gonna fall on you as the independent contractor, but anything that a brokerage is willing to help out with is definitely something that should be taken into consideration. Keller Williams provided me with a lower level CRM and website combo, which was super helpful getting started and actually, did the job for quite a while. They also were able to hook me up with someone who could design my business cards and design my signs. And while that was an expense of my own as an independent contractor, it certainly helped to have that guidance. The biggest thing for me is that I wanted to be a top producer, and I eventually needed tools that were more robust, more advanced than those that were offered for free through my brokerage. So there may become a time where you outgrow the free tools as you grow your team and grow your business and need tools that are more advanced for the amount of production that you're doing. But as a new agent, that doesn't matter as much. I think that any brokerage that's willing to give you those bonuses and perks to help you hit the ground running is definitely worth taking note of. Next, and most important to me, was the splits, the money. This is a super important question that you need to ask every broker at every interview. And that's gonna be, what's your guys' franchise fee? What are your commission splits? And are there any other monthly fees that I need to worry about? A commission split, for example, let's take a $200,000 sale that you got paid 3% on. That's $6,000. Great, right? Well, you have a franchise fee of 6%, so go ahead and subtract $360 from that off the top. And then you have a 50-50 split with your broker, let's say, which leaves you with $2,820 of those dollars out of the $6,000. Then let's say that your brokerage charges a $200 desk fee every month, and maybe they charge you 10 cents per copy that you print out on their printer. And as you can see, these expenses can quickly start to add up. The example that I just went over is a pretty high split in favor of the brokerage. So if you say weren't getting a lot of training or maybe leads or other perks from the brokerage, it would certainly be hard to justify that split. Most of the time you'll see, let's say 70-30 splits, with you receiving 70, or even on the high end, maybe you receive 80-20. It's becoming more and more common to see brokerages put a cap on how much they can take from you during a calendar year. So for example, whenever I was at Keller Williams Realty, I think that they had a cap around 33,000. It was like 27,000 capped out to the brokerage, another 6,000 capped out for the franchise fee. So basically, once I made around 110,000 in commissions, of course they kept their 33 out of that, and then everything that I produced over that, I got to keep 100% of, as if I owned my own brokerage. What I did, and what I recommend doing whenever you're going and conducting your interviews, is of course taking note of the splits of each brokerage, and then what I did was I put it into a spreadsheet. I had the spreadsheet break down where the splits would be at and how much money I would make per house that I sold. And Keller Williams, with where their cap was at the time, it was only like 12 houses that I had to sell for me to hit that cap. And then at that point, I would be able to keep 100% of my commissions. And of course, the more houses that I sold, the more KW stood out from the competition, because I knew that I wanted to be a top producer. I was with Keller Williams for a few years, and I think that the last couple of years there, I was capped in the first month or two, where Keller Williams had already got all the money they were gonna get out of me. And after that, I received 100% of my commissions for the whole rest of the year. Now, the reason why I eventually left Keller Williams Realty is because as my team grew, I was paying for my own more advanced CRM, my own more advanced website. I had dialing systems. I was starting to have several employees, and there just wasn't room for us at the Keller Williams office. And we were producing so much, it just didn't make sense to pay them the 33 grand a year. For the cost of 33 grand, I could have hired another assistant, I could have paid a lease on an office space, or maybe I could even buy an office and use that 33 grand a year to make the monthly mortgage payments on it. Of course, whenever you're a brand new real estate agent, you have to hang your real estate hat somewhere. And for me, Keller Williams was a great place to get started. I just think more or less I grew out of it. So at least in the state of Oregon, you have to be a real estate broker for at least 3 years before you can go out and start your own company. And so of course, once we made it to that 3-year mark, it just made more sense to go do your own thing where you can keep 100% of your commissions. You're not paying splits to anybody. You're not waiting on them to cut checks, and you can do it all on your own. So if you guys have any questions, don't forget to comment them below. I'm always happy to answer your questions. And of course, we want to make sure that you choose the right brokerage the first time. And you know what? If you do start with a brokerage and it isn't necessarily going the way that you want, you can always change brokerages later. But I do think that it's important to go conduct these interviews, ask these questions so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into from the get-go. I appreciate you guys watching, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Real Estate is Life channel so you can follow us on the journey to real estate millionaire. And I will see you guys on the next one.